found a box beneath my bed, paper edges soft and torn, little notes I wrote at midnight when I couldn't breathe from loving you. Words I folded like they were fragile, promising myself I'd give them someday. But days turned into storms, and storms turned into distance, and distance became the quiet truth I never wanted to face. There's one letter where I wrote how your smile burned through every dark room I walked in. Another where I said I loved you long before you ever guessed it. Ink smudged from holding the page too tight, from hands shaking with hope, from nights I kept rewriting sentences, because I wanted every line to be perfect for a heart I didn't know I would lose. These are the letters I never said, the words I whispered in the paper when the world felt too heavy to say them out loud. Every page is a version of us that lived only in my imagination. These are the goodbyes I never wrote, the apologies you never heard, the promises I couldn't keep because I was loving you quietly and losing you loudly. I wrote about the park bench where we talked for hours about nothing, where your laughter tangled with the wind and made me believe the universe was gentle. I wrote about the playlist you made, how every song felt like a secret message, how I memorized the way your eyes softened when you talked about your childhood. I tried to capture it all in ink, but ink is too thin for feelings like that. Some letters were written in hope, hope that you'd choose me, hope that you'd see me, hope that all the almost would turn into always. But some letters, some were written in fear, fear that I was too soft, too quiet, too easy to forget, fear that you were slipping away even as you held my hand. I kept them hidden, thinking someday you'd ask, someday you'd wanna know what lived behind my silence. But silence has its own way of speaking, and mine said everything I was afraid to admit. You were never mine to lose, but I lost you anyway. These are the letters I never said, the love I carried like a secret flame, trying not to burn myself. Every word is a memory pressed into paper, a moment soft enough to break me. These are the truths I never said, the storms I survived alone, the healing I had to learn when letting go felt like losing air. I kept them hidden, thinking someday you'd ask, someday you'd wanna know what lived behind my silence. But silence has its own way of speaking, and mine said everything I was afraid to admit. You were never mine to lose, but I lost you anyway. These are the letters I never said, the love I carried like a secret flame, trying not to burn myself. Every word is a memory pressed into paper, a moment soft enough to break me. These are the truths I never said, the storms I survived alone, the healing I had to learn when letting go felt like losing air. There's a letter where I begged you to stay even though you hadn't left yet. Another where I said I'd wait for you even though waiting meant bleeding slowly. One where I promised I'd forgive you before you ever hurt me, because loving you was a risk I took without thinking, a free fall I never prepared for. And then there's the last one, half written, half ruined a page with tear stains that blurred every line into confession. It said, I know you won't choose me, but I hope someone loves you with the same softness I carried. I hope they understand your silence. I hope they calm your storms. I hope they give you the love I wrote about in every letter you'll never read. I used to think those letters were failures, words too afraid to speak. But now I see them as survival, as proof that I love deeply. Even when it hurt, it's proof that I can love again. Even after breaking, healing doesn't come sudden, and it arrives like morning light, slow and tender, touching everything I thought would stay dark forever. These are the letters I never sent, but maybe they weren't meant for you. Maybe they were meant for the version of me who still believes she wasn't enough. Every page is a reminder that I felt something real, that I live, that I love, that I survived. These are the words that saved me when you couldn't. So I'll keep the box, not as a graveyard for lost love, but as a museum of my heart, a story of someone who loved bravely. Even when the world didn't love her back, and maybe someday I'll write new letters, not to you, but to someone who stays, someone who doesn't need paper to understand me, someone who doesn't walk away from the softness I carry. Until then, these are the letters I never sent, but they finally feel like they belong to me.